Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for July 28th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today on my own to talk to you about everything that is happening on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. Yesterday, day 22, and it's the final day before the eviction tonight. I can tell you that as of right now, the big headline of the day, yes, in fact, the blind side is still on. So it's the final update before the blind side. We are going to go ahead and see where we go from here with the eviction and what happens after. So come and join me on this journey. You can ask some questions if you want at the end of the podcast, but let's get straight into it. Day 22. Turner's the HOH. The Renom blindside happened. Amira and Terrence are on the block. Terrence has been... he initially conceded, but he's since been trying to campaign a bit. And Amira has been feeling like she is a lock to stay. At times, she gets a little bit nervous, but for the most part, she has been very confident that she's going to stay. She has not been doing a ton of campaigning. It's just been a lot of like, we good? Yeah. Great. And in the meantime, the leftovers who are orchestrating this blindside are continuing to play up the fact that they will be voting for Amira and that she should be staying, and planning on getting to a point where they're blaming their votes on other people. They're hoping for a split vote, 6-5, so that they can blame their votes on other people. Other people primarily being Nicole and Daniel. So that's pretty much where we are. Kyle actually kind of starts the day talking to the cameras. He says, "This feels weird, but I want to try to get better at doing this." And he gives us a quick little recap of what happened. It's like he's doing a live feed update almost, like sort of what I just did. But he does sort of like the TikTok version of it, where he's like being all TikTok-y. Let me try to explain. He's like, "All right, cameras, going into this week, I was in the pose pack, right? And then Alyssa tells me about this old school alliance. And I was like, oh crap, oh man." And so I was like, okay, gotta figure out what's going on. Gotta figure out. I did the numbers. Terminator. And then like then we realized that like Amira was like the head of the snake. And so we got the numbers together, and I had the Outsiders Alliance with Michael and Brittany, so I knew they'd be good. And then who else do we need? The one person in this house that's being bullied AF, Taylor. So we pull her in. We orchestrate the plan. Amira's on the block. And she thinks she's covered from all angles. She thinks she's totally fine, but the one angle she's not covered from is from behind. Could we just put that on? If we put that on TikTok, is that a TikTok? He's a very successful TikTok, right? He's learning. He says he's learning in this game that you have to lie a lot. You have to lie a lot in this game. He's lying all the time. It's very strange. He says that he's having to lie. He says his favorite answer in the game is "I don't know," because you can't like go to somebody else and say, "Oh, guess what Kyle said? He said I don't know." So if he just keeps saying "I don't know," then he's in a great spot. But he opened his mouth a bit. Bit of a dummy move. He told everyone about Amira's job, and he got in trouble for that yesterday. So, whoops. Needs to keep his mouth shut. And he says, "All right, America, we have to get on the same page about this." The Alyssa situation. I do like Alyssa. Now, she has shown some red flags dating wise, like the uber jealousy, that little thing. So but I'm here to play the game. Here to win this game. I told her the other night that we'll just be friends in the house, and that maybe we can explore something after. And I meant that. I am totally open to hanging out outside the game. But in the game, I'm here for the game. So there we go. That's where Kyle stands on it. And I do think, I think that just my own personal interpretation here. I think Kyle did like Alyssa. I think over time, as the uber jealousy, as he calls it, has developed and been explained, and he's experiencing it, I do think that he has his enthusiasm for a potential relationship has waned, but I think he's still open to it, as he says. That makes sense. That's my interpretation of what he's saying here. Anyway, for the rest of the day, we've got, again, everything is going to stay in place for the blind side. There are a couple of little hiccups. We'll talk about those. But for the most part, blindside is in place. There's a lot of talk about how, again, they want the vote to be 6-5 so they can pin those flip votes on Nicole and Daniel, who are continuing to be very messy about where their vote lies. Nicole, who just a couple of days ago, you may remember on the update, Nicole was like, I'm the swing vote. It's not about me, but I have to make this decision. Why would Turner do this to me? And so that's pretty much continued, going back and forth about, like, should she vote out Terrence? Should she vote out Amira? It's not fair that she's in this position. And, it's back and forth. It's back and forth. And she's told both of them, I just want you to know how hard of a decision this is for me, whether or not to keep you, the person that I said I would never vote out. It's important that you know how difficult this is for me, that you are on the block, and I just don't know if I should vote to keep you. That messiness has caused some tension. Amira, Jasmine, some of these women, they're not super pleased with Nicole and Daniel, who are being really weird about this. So it shouldn't be too difficult in the eyes of the leftovers to, pin the votes on them, especially with Amira gone, right? It'll just be Alyssa and Jasmine and like Indy that they need to convince. So they're looking, they're looking for something like that to happen, and it seems like it might be in place because Nicole and Daniel have, for the most part, decided that they want to keep Amira, which means the vote should be around 6-5 at this time. So that's how the day is going to continue. Lots of little conversations again, skipping through lots of, Amira conversations, talking to people, feeling like she's got votes, not really campaigning again, but mostly just like half checking in, just kind of mostly just talking to her friends. And of course, more of the usual and all of that. But we do have an interesting conversation with Monty, Joseph, and Michael. They're talking about who to target next. It's the same conversation as always. It's between Monty and Joseph. It's primarily going to be Nicole that they want to target. But Joseph does want to make sure, he says, look, we're not going to push a target on the others in the alliance. We should all have an equal say, because the reason we created this alliance is because of the way that we've all been isolated and not included in these conversations. So whoever we decide to target, we'll all, we're not going to just like force ourselves in that direction. So Michael, then they also talk about how they're like, oh, by the way, all three of them have suspicions that secretly, other people have suspicions that secretly they're lying about their job. Nicole thinks that Monty is a cop. And Amira has suspicions, multiple people have suspicions that Michael is lying about his job. They think that he's probably like an escape room designer. And Michael lets Joseph know, this is very fun. He said, yeah, Amira said that she thinks you're a secret attorney, Joseph. And this is hilarious because Michael is a secret attorney and also Joseph is a secret attorney. But I like this from Michael because by telling Joseph that people think he's a secret attorney, it's almost like he's trying to head off potential suspicion that he's an attorney, because it's like, oh, now they think I'm an attorney after they thought Joseph was an attorney. But in reality, they're both attorneys, or at least, close enough, right? And I love the three of them in particular, Monty, Joseph, and Michael, because they're kind of like a Venn diagram, right? Joseph is the center overlapping bit between Michael and Monty, where Michael is a lawyer and Monty is a personal trainer, and Joseph is both. Anyway. Terrence is going to campaign through the day. He does something. Not a lot of people do this when they're on the block. It's not usually the most effective strategy because it's not really how the votes work. When the HOH has power, the HOH often will do one-on-ones because they need to get everybody's perspective and talk to everyone and get information, leverage their power to then make a decision as an individual. When you're on the block and you talk to everyone one-on-one, you're the only one that's getting the benefit of all of those conversations. Everybody else is just having one piece of it, and people aren't usually going to make their decision based on one piece of it. Now, that's not to say that campaigning shouldn't be done, but I think the reason you don't often see this particular strategy is because it's not usually super effective. However, Terrence is going to have one-on-one meetings with everyone in the house to campaign. And, honestly, it's still a lot better than what Amira is doing, which is next to nothing. So the biggest conversation that he has is with Brittany here at first, where he tells Brittany that he feels like he is on the outs, just like her and Taylor, and that he would love for them to work together. And so she asks him about like, hey, was there like an older person alliance or something? And he's like, no. She's like, I heard there was something going on there at some point. And he's like, nah, there's not an older, but if there was one, you could join. You're 30, whatever, right? So that was funny. But they talk about how they think Amira is running the house. Brittany says that there's more going on in this house than people realize, and that there's people that are, running the show, kind of calling the shots, and that basically Amira is that person. And so maybe there is room to consider that they should take her out. Terrence says that he thinks that if Amira goes, Nicole would kind of take her place, would end up being the person that's running the house. And Brittany says, well, look, I think that, between us, I think that myself, Taylor, and Michael could definitely be votes for you. And Terrence feels very good about this. He feels like between Michael, Brittany, and Taylor, and then Daniel and Nicole and Kyle, who he's talked to and feels like Kyle might want him to stay, that he's very close to getting the votes to stay here. So he talks to other people. He talks to Kyle as well. Kyle tells him, Kyle's line throughout the day, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, but Kyle's line throughout the day is he's really just playing up, hey, I really just want to do what Daniel is doing. Daniel is my bestie. I kind of want to follow his lead, whatever he's thinking. I just want to be on the same page as Daniel. Really just trying to, plant that seed as much as possible. So that's what he tells Terrence. Daniel tells Terrence, I do want you to stay. You do have my vote, but I'm going to have to talk to more people and figure out where the house stands. I'll get back to you later and let you know what I think is happening here. But you do have my vote, but I got to talk to other people. So that's going to be Daniel's stand. We'll talk a little bit about where that goes. Terrence also talks to Joseph and Monty, who also are going to imply to him, yes, there's definitely a chance that we could be votes for you. So, if you're getting wishy-washy from Nicole and Daniel, just so you know, we could be those 2 votes instead, and we could lock it into B6. And we just hope that that if we do that, that where those votes came from moving forward, right? So Terrence at this point is feeling pretty good. He's feeling like I might have 6 votes. I might have 8 votes. All of these people saying they might be votes for me. None of it's like super locked in, but he's feeling pretty good. He even says to the cameras at one point, like, look at me. Selling, making the sale. If I was selling cars, they'd be walking off the lot with one right now. Very, very fun watching Terrence. So through all of those conversations, Daniel is going to talk to Nicole about how obviously they are looking to keep Amira, but he did tell Terrence that he is going to have his vote, and he kind of wants to give Terrence a sympathy vote. It's looking like it's going to be an 11-0 vote. And, Daniel did kind of, he's promised a lot to Terrence. He put him on the block week 1. He's really he's hoping that maybe he can give him the 1 vote, like a 1-10 vote, something like that. Just some kind of sympathy vote. And Nicole, somebody who is not to be one-upped when it comes to her relationship with Terrence or sympathy. Me too. I would want to do that too, because he's my best friend. So I would also want to give him, yes, a sympathy vote. Yes, I agree. It's a good idea that I just had. Yep. And so they're both considering casting sympathy votes for Terrence. And they end up telling Joseph about it. They end up talking about it with some people. And then, of course, this spreads to the leftovers, who are like, oh, okay, hold on. They might cast sympathy votes. And then, of course, the idea that they might cast sympathy votes immediately spawns the idea, okay, wait a minute. If they're casting sympathy votes, that makes the vote 8-3, which is not the split that we want. We want it to be a 6-5 vote because we want to be able to blame their votes or blame our votes on them. So if they don't vote for Amira to stay, then we can't blame our votes on them. We're exposed. So for a moment, they consider, should we, if they're casting those votes, should we then make sure that it is a 6-5 vote? No. We're not going to do that. They all agree, too risky. They can't be sure that Nicole and Daniel will cast those sympathy votes. So no matter what, all 6 of them are going to be voting Amira out. So that is not in the cards. Those 6 votes are locked in. It's just a matter of, will Daniel and Nicole make it 8-3, or will they keep it 6-5 by not voting that way? So that's in place there. Now, Joseph, in the meantime, has been going around, again, just having a lot of conversations. Joseph is if we're going to make this like a BB20 kind of thing, Joseph is playing what was initially the Tyler role, but then eventually became the Brett role. And it's more the Brett thing right now, where Joseph is not talking with most of the leftovers most of the time. He's not in most of their meetings. He's not really having a lot of conversations with them. He's spending most of his time like flirting with Amira, and really trying to make her feel comfortable, make the rest of the women feel comfortable that his targets are Turner and Taylor. Now, this is primarily because Joseph and Monty are two of the people most at risk if they lose HOH next week because of the bestie twist. The two of them are two of the only people that the other side can even target, and that they wouldn't have the numbers to save if they did go up on the block. And so he's really trying to sell that he is not with any other group and that he's very much with the women, and he's hoping that he's going to be able to have an easy time selling. It wasn't me that flipped. I was voting with you. That's only though if Nicole and Daniel actually do vote Terrance out. So that's what he's up to, and they are fully buying it. They fully believe that Turner is his target, Taylor is his target. They have bought hook, line, and sinker into what Joseph is trying to sell, which is so interesting because it's funny that Joseph was somebody that could have genuinely been working with them previously, but they never trusted him. The second he started lying about wanting to work with them, they started buying it. It's strange because the concerted effort of actively going out there and trying to trick them got them to trust him, whereas the genuine just kind of like, I'm kind of out there working with some bros maybe, but also willing to, work elsewhere, didn't get anywhere with them. Very, very funny sort of thing that sometimes it genuinely happens here in Big Brother. The concerted effort versus the like, hey, we're friends though, right? It's interesting. Anyway, so that's, again, happening through most of the day. A lot of similar things going on. Nothing too major until we finally get to the nighttime here. This is, after the episode. And the episode, by the way, Taylor's talking throughout most of the day about the episode. She's like, man, what an episode they've got. They aired today. And I love Taylor's version of it. Taylor's version of it is better than the version of it that they actually gave. She's like, it starts with Joseph's birthday. It's like, man, wouldn't that have been great if they had started with Joseph's birthday? And then the misunderstanding, and then the fight, and then the veto. Jasmine passes out, and then the leftovers come together, and then the replacement nominee blindside. And it's like, yeah. And Kyle was like, what? They can't fit all of that into one episode. Like, they have to. Well, almost. Anyway, for more on my thoughts about the episode, you can check out the stream I did yesterday during the episode. So they get to the end of the day. Nicole and Daniel have decided they are, in fact, going to vote Terrance out, or not vote Terrance out, but that Terrance is going home. And so Nicole has made a big deal of, I need to be the one. I need to be the one to tell Terrance. It needs to be me. It shouldn't be anyone else. No. It shouldn't be anyone else. It's going to be so hard. It's going to be so. No. It's I have to do it, but it's going to be so hard. Okay. All right. So she goes up to the HOH room with Terrance, and she sits him down. She says, Terrance, you don't have the votes. And I love you so much, but it's just not there. It's okay. It's okay, Nicole. It's not okay. It's not okay. I expected you to be here with me the entire time, but you're not going to be here anymore. I just love you so much. I was hoping after the conversations you had today that something would be different, but clearly it's not. Clearly it's not. You're my soulmate in this game. You're one of my best friends here. I don't know what I'll be without you here. Camera. Okay. I really thought you'd be here with me until the end. Me too. I did too. It's unbelievable. I can't. And the speech that Turner gave, talking about bullying. Indy's still here. Come on. Unbelievable. I just hate that this is being done to me. All right, Terrence. I have something else to tell you. All right. Since you're leaving, a secret. I was a cop for 10 years. What? Yeah. Yeah. No way. Oh, come on. Yeah. Daniel knows. He's always like giving me crap because it's like I'm always calling my mic a radio, because like a cop. Like, oh, my radio. You know what I mean? Wow. That's, yeah. No, totally. Yeah. Oh, man. And the thing is, too, like I accidentally let it slip in front of Michael and Joseph during LD one time. LD? Oh, yeah. Lockdown, cop term. Wow. You must be amazing at detecting, lies, BS, right? Oh, yeah, exactly. These people, terrible liars. You can always tell when they're lying. Cop skills, So, and look, the only reason I'm telling you this, obviously, you're not going to be here after tomorrow. So, I can tell you my secret, and it'll be okay. And it's like, oh yeah, I get that. And she's like, here's what else, right? I'm pretty sure that there's some other people who are lying about their profession as well. For instance, Joseph, firefighter, for sure. I mean, come on. Did you see the way when Jasmine fainted, Joseph ran right in? Who does that? Who runs in to help somebody that's about to faint? Unless you know what you're doing. Firefighter. Boom. Got him. This goes on for a while. And that's about the gist of it. Terrence is very understanding. Yes, I understand that you can't vote for. I get it. I'm going home. Thank you for telling me your secret. I'll take it home with me when I leave tomorrow. And Nicole leaves. And Turner talks to Terrence after. And Terrence says, yeah, Nicole just told me that I'm going home tomorrow. And Turner's like, oh, did she? Listen, I'm going to tell you something. Can't tell anybody. But I don't think you're going home tomorrow. And Terrence is like, oh, no, I don't think I am either. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all from Nicole. Come on. What are you talking about? She's coming in here telling me the whole house wants me. I don't buy that for a second. I've got some votes. I think she's working with Amira. I think there's an official alliance happening there. And Turner's like, exactly. So just keep it on the down low, but you should be here tomorrow. And so this is really great too, because if you recall from about 2 minutes ago, when you thought it was funny when Terrence was asking Nicole about detecting BS, and and Nicole was like, "Oh yeah, these people are terrible liars," and we were like, "Ah, little does she know the leftovers are really snowing her." Literally, as Terrence is asking her that question, he knows that he's not buying her BS and that he's selling her some BS, and he's asking her directly, "Do you? You must be really good at detecting BS, huh?" As he BS's her. Oh boy. Anyway. Uh, so Terrence has kind of been filled in. Monty's going to fill him in even more later in the night, and they're going to talk about like how Terrence should play it tomorrow when he's safe. Like, should he pretend to be shocked? Like, what should he do? And so Terrence now has, you know, I would imagine a pretty good feeling that he should stay, or that he should be staying here in the game tomorrow. But for now, he's going to keep it under wraps. So that's where he stands. And in the meantime, like here, obviously, like Nicole's just like Terrence was one of her closest allies. And she is just destroying that relationship. She is later going to tell him about the sympathy vote situation, and that she might be casting a vote, but that he still will be going home. And so it's just like, oh boy. So be prepared for all of that here tonight in real time. So Amira and Jasmine are going to have a conversation also about this whole sympathy vote situation, and Nicole having to be the one to tell Terrence that he's going home and all of this. And they're pretty annoyed at the whole thing. And it's really, again, like, you know, you think about how difficult it will be for the leftovers to pull off this blaming the votes on other people thing, especially if the sympathy votes come through. But there are a lot of potential pitfalls for it. It's a very tricky thing to do, to blame votes on other people. Most people are not very successful at it. But I really think you have to consider that, like, Amira really is the brains of the operation. And so once Amira is gone, it will just be Jasmine, who is so suspicious of Nicole and Daniel, and who has had conversations with Amira about being suspicious of Nicole and Daniel, doesn't have as good a relationship with Nicole or Daniel as Amira does. Alyssa, who, you know, Indy, yeah, and Nicole and Daniel, who are the ones being blamed, right? So it's like, I feel like they can pull this off. So that's kind of where things stand at this time. Honestly, I say that about Indy. I think Indy's probably the person maybe most likely to figure it out, but they probably just won't listen to her. So Monty fills Terrence in, and the night progresses again as it is here. There is going to be a leftover meeting, and so this is why, like, a lot of the little conversations throughout the day, I'm kind of glossing over because they all kind of discuss them at once here late into the night in a more formal setting, and it's kind of the latest bit of information from the leftovers. Taylor, Monty, Michael, Brittany, and Turner are all together. Joseph isn't there again. Joseph not really in most of their meetings, and then Kyle's not there because he's busy dealing with Alyssa. So they're having a conversation. Taylor and Brittany are talking about how they feel kind of bad about the blind side, especially because really the first thing that happened in the morning is that Amira had a conversation with Taylor, and basically, Amira, I think, since the Daniel and Nicole blow up on Taylor, has been nicer to Taylor, right? So obviously, we know that Amira was one of the people leading the anti-Taylor charge in the early weeks, and really helped create this sort of atmosphere to begin with. However, she's not lying, especially when we saw the episode, when she says that lately, at least, she did not really agree with the situation with Daniel and Nicole. Now, that does not mean that she is sticking up for Taylor in conversations. She is a part of. She's still been a part of a lot of conversations where they've been trashing Taylor and stuff like that. But particularly about the Daniel and Nicole altercation, it seems as though she has been relatively against how that happened specifically, but still very much anti-Taylor. But to her face in particular, she has been much nicer than normal. She has been a lot more, willing to speak to her like a human. And so from Taylor's point of view, and this is what I'm getting at, from Taylor's point of view, she feels like Amira is not really the problem. The Daniel and Nicole are the problem. Amira's always been pretty nice to her, hasn't really done much to her, and is now being even more nice, even more supportive. And so Taylor says to the cameras in the morning, like, oh man, I feel bad about this, Amira. Like, we're totally going to be friends outside this house. I'm sorry, but I'm just doing what I have to do to survive in the game right now. You just happen to essentially be the victim of this. She doesn't really see that Amira is not quite as innocent as she may appear right now. And so she's feeling kind of bad about the situation. And Brittany's also starting to feel a little bad. She's kind of feeling like Brittany's kind of concerned as well, because on the face of it, and we've talked about this, on the face of it, there's a world where you could maybe interpret what's happening with the leftovers as Brittany betraying the women for the guys. And she hopes that that's not how it's seen, because she genuinely does feel like she's been ostracized from the women. But especially, again, as the women have been, nicer to their faces and trying to include them more because they need their votes, it's been a little bit more difficult to keep solid in their heads about oh, we are doing the right thing. This is solid. This is good. So basically, all this to get to, they're just feeling a little guilty and a little bad. They're still going to go through with it. They're just feeling a little bit of that way. So Turner says, "Oh, okay. Well, let me just there's stuff I could tell you guys that I don't want to tell you if it's gonna impact your mental health or make you feel bad, but there's definitely stuff that I know that they've said or have been saying. So I don't want to tell you if you don't want to know, though." And they're like, no, we want to know. And he's like, "Okay, all right, well, let me tell you then." And honestly, I feel it feels disgusting even saying this out loud. I don't want to. I don't even like saying it to you right now, but basically, Feed's cut. And then we come back after he's finished telling them. Now, we did later find out what he said, or at least parts of what he said, and it's not too difficult to guess what he was going to say, because man, we don't see everything, right? But we do happen to see lots of things, and lots of those things are people talking about the things that we didn't see. And so Brittany tells Michael that Turner told her or she was talking to Michael about how Turner was talking about that apparently Brittany, when she leaves the room, people will look at the cameras and be like, "Oh, Brittany, always interrupting us, so annoying," just kind of smack talking Brittany. And it's Turner actually even joked "Oh, and I did this." He did actually do that. So I don't know if he admitted to that himself, but he talked to Brittany about that, which is pretty true. That's pretty much how they talk about Brittany when she's not in the room, when she joins, when she interrupts. They're pretty annoyed. And they're like, "Oh, Brittany, you're totally one of us," to her face. But then when she leaves, they're like, "Oh my God, this girl." And so Brittany now knows about that. And she's like, it's pretty upsetting to hear, but I'm glad that I know. Taylor also later talks to Kyle and tells him that at least one of the things that Turner told her was the Indy hot soup in her face comment. So they know, uh, a little bit more, feeling a little less guilty here. So, back to the leftovers conversation. Again, this is Taylor, Monty, Michael, Brittany, and Turner. They are, first of all, trying to figure out like how to they're like, okay, we need to win the next competition. If it comes down to a tiebreaker, they start going over like, okay, how long did this veto take? How long did this competition take? They're really taking it very seriously. This is a very important HOH competition. They need to win. They're really hoping to lock down any potential tiebreaker question. And then they discuss the vote. Again, if it's a 6-5 vote, they're all just going to deny. Full denial, right? And just let them like come up with their own theories and then feed into those theories, and they'll figure it out from there. But if it's an 8-3 vote, they're not sure what the story is going to be. Now, Michael is kind of feeling like if Nicole and Daniel are going to throw a sympathy vote, he may want to tell them ahead of time that he's also going to throw a sympathy vote. And then maybe they can have a situation where they're like, oh, well, we were throwing sympathy votes. You threw a sympathy vote. Too many sympathy votes happened. Oh, man. And then all of a sudden there was a majority, and then it just got confusing. Monty kind of feels like, I mean, we could try, but the fact of the matter is, an 8-3 vote is it's tough. They know who those 3 votes are. Jasmine, Alyssa, Indy. Period. Right? Like there's no wiggle room there. We're all exposed with an 8-3 vote. So, what do we do? And again, the topic of like, what if we made it a 6-5 vote by having some of us vote Terrence out is brought up, but not in a serious way. They're like, obviously we wouldn't want that, because what would happen if Terrence ended up telling them, please don't cast a sympathy vote for me? Now all of a sudden Amira is still here? No. And Monty goes, wait. I think we're onto something here though. What if we tell Terrence to tell Nicole and Daniel to not cast a sympathy vote for him? So then they don't cast that vote. It's 6-5 again. I don't know. What do you think? They're like, oh, that could maybe work. I personally don't love this particular strategy. It's weird for Terrence to tell people to not vote for him, and then it will really set Nicole and Daniel off that, like, why were we told to not vote for you, and then you stay? And then they'll say Terrence told us not to vote for him, which is a weird thing to do. It could certainly work. And Terrence might get into a little bit of trouble for it. It's also a weird thing to try to ask Terrence to do. Like, hey, can you tell these people to not vote for you to stay? Like, of course he wants every vote he can get. He doesn't want to leave anything to chance. He doesn't know how solid things are. But look, this might be their plan moving forward, and it might work. So we'll see how this goes. Personally, I feel like the better call is to just have people like Monty, Kyle, whoever, talk to Amira and be like, Nicole and Daniel, they're talking about casting sympathy votes. And like, I just don't feel comfortable with that, Amira. I don't want to risk you going home. I don't think that they should be casting sympathy votes, and try to get Amira to tell them, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you casting a sympathy vote, so that they don't cast a sympathy vote. And then afterward, it's like, did they end up casting a sympathy vote after? What if the sympathy vote thing was a ploy and they were really trying to figure out a way to flip the vote? Like, I feel like that's maybe a better plan, but either way, they're figuring it out. They're putting it together. So that's kind of their tentative plan right now, is to potentially talk to Terrence at some point today, here on Thursday, and then see if they can stop Daniel and Nicole from casting those sympathy votes to keep the vote close so that they can deny and cause chaos. Monty even specifically brings up, he says, "Did you guys watch season 20? Because in season 20, it was like every week in the first half of that game, the vote was split. It always went to level 6, and it always like shocked the house. Like, I think we can pull that off. I think we can pull that off this season." And I was like, yes, these are the seasons they should be watching. And these are the things they should be trying to emulate and replicate. Because yes. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes. They did try to get Kyle to join the meeting, but again, he was stuck with Alyssa. So afterward, Taylor pulls him up, and they have to secretly like go over to the have-not room because Alyssa and Indy are not have-nots anymore, and talk in there so that Alyssa doesn't catch them talking. And she fills him in on the ideas that were discussed. And they're locked in. They're ready to go. Everything is in place right now for the most part for the blind side tonight. So that's where things stand. Any questions from the class before we ring the bell here and send us off to the eviction tonight? Should be hopefully a good one. Hopefully we have some good blindside faces. And we'll have some fun with it. I will be streaming, of course, on Twitch today, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, talking about the stock watch, the different ways that things might go heading into next week. Maybe playing some of the kitten game. So you can check that out again, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I was also live last night during the episode, and I will be also live during the episode tonight over on Twitch. So you can see my reaction to the blind side. So that should be a fun time as well. And of course, we're going to have a recap afterward and another update tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update on everything that happens today and tonight when the feeds come back here on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. So, is there any chance production steps into Kyle and threatens punishment for any live tribal action? There hasn't really been that much more discussed about that. I'm not really anticipating a live tribal situation, but I think that they would just want to make sure that he doesn't do anything to really disrupt the live show. But I don't know that they'd be super against a little bit of chaos as long as it can be contained. What could destroy today's blindside if Terrence opens his mouth and tells anybody outside of the 7 that he thinks he's staying? Now, even then, they might not believe him. But it might set some things off. And then, especially like with the plan to have Terrence tell Nicole and Daniel not to vote for him, that could get a little tricky. There are a couple things that could ruin the blind side, but for now, it's in place. Let's see here. Anyone I see as a bad HOH winner for the leftovers? Jasmine, Alyssa, Nicole, Daniel. I mean, anyone outside. I think Terrence might actually be okay at this point. So, basically anybody outside of the leftovers, Terrence is the next best bet. And then like the worst is like Nicole and Daniel, or like Jasmine, Alyssa. But even then, like maybe Kyle can get to Alyssa. Maybe if Indy wins, they can get to her and try to get her to not nominate Monty and Joseph because she has a relationship with Joseph. And so like they still have outs. They definitely still have outs here. If certain people win. What do I think Terrence's end game is? I think it's right now it's survive the week. Will Amira expose things as she goes out? She said she would. But people don't usually follow through with that sort of thing because they're usually so shocked. That was kind of the whole thing with level 6 too, is that like if we shock them enough, they won't have the wherewithal to expose anything, which we might see. Who was it that mentioned Amira seeing the goodbye message to Jasmine almost got caught? That was Kyle. So yeah, Kyle talked about this. He was talking with Jasmine, and I think at least Jasmine was there, and he was talking about the goodbye messages and something about like going into the diary room and then coming out, and he's like, "Oh, Amira won't see my message to her," and then Jasmine was like, "Oh, well, she's not going to see your message anyway because she's not being voted out." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Is that I meant like I wouldn't record the message." Whoops. Best HOH result for the leftovers. Any one of them, really. Do I think Julie will mention the Taylor stuff to Amira? Honestly, I don't think so. I think the show is really trying to lean into this is all Daniel and Nicole's fault. So if anything, she might ask Amira about like, how do you feel about Daniel and Nicole bullying Taylor? But I don't know that Amira will hear anything specific to her. Do I think Kyle gets the target onto Alyssa for next week? Not really. Not unless the HOH and veto results play out in a certain way. Kyle continues to talk about wanting to get Alyssa and Indy up potentially, but I really don't see it happening. The rest of the alliance is really set on Daniel and Nicole, and he even talked to Taylor about it, and they're both okay with going on the block, or at least willing to say they're okay with going on the block in order to take them out. So, that's kind of the situation there. Is Kyle more loyal to the outsiders or the pound? Based on his camera talk, like naming the outsiders, even though they haven't really like come together as an outsider meeting in a while, I'd be more inclined to believe he's more outsider than pound. Personally, I think that's a better route for him to win the game anyway. So I would imagine that's kind of where he leans. Outsiders, by the way, Kyle, Michael, and Brittany, which happened before the leftovers and the pound and all of that. But they never really like locked it in. Gut feeling on vote count: 6-5, 7-4, or theoretically, I guess 8-3. My thinking is between like there's enough pushback to the sympathy vote plan that I do think that we will probably get to a 6-5 vote. I think that Daniel and Nicole will probably back down if Terrence tells them not to, or if Amira tells them not to, or if anybody else tells them not to. I feel like they might back away from it, and then we might end up with the 6-5. But it really could go anyway. This at this point, especially because like there's not always time in the day to enact these kinds of things. So they might think like, oh, we'll just wait until we have a moment, and then all of a sudden they're doing like the walkthroughs and now they don't have time, and now it's 8-3 all of a sudden. So who knows? Will they pull Terrence into the 7 after tonight? I don't think so. Not officially, but I think they all talked about how they really like Terrence now, and that they're like definitely looking to keep him around a little bit longer. So all right. Wow, lots of questions, but who will get the most blame is a good question. I think Kyle might be in some trouble because of a few different things. One, he was caught blabbing about Amira's job and then lied about it. Two, he accidentally slipped up about the diary room thing, which they might remember and think back to. Three, they might be able to connect the dots and realize that maybe it was Alyssa leaking things to Kyle that ended up making this happen, and so that link could be in trouble. So I think Kyle is potentially the most at risk of taking heat for this, but that's actually a good thing for the leftovers because if Kyle goes on the block with Daniel, Daniel will go home. Whereas if Michael or Brittany or Monty or Joseph goes up on the block, then they are much more in danger. And now, but that's of course, that's of the leftovers. I think the people most likely to take immediate blame are, in fact, Daniel and Nicole. So we'll see how that goes. All right. I think that's what we've got for you today. I will be, again, live later today. If you have more questions or you just want to like chat some more with me, hang out, talk about the stock watch, whatever, come join me on Twitch, and then I'll be streaming live during the episode as well later today. So not sure what time it'll be before the episode, but if you follow me on Twitter or if you follow me on Twitch, you'll be notified when I go live. And then again, after the episode, podcast update the following morning. We got the Q&A tomorrow as well, so you can call in and ask some questions then with myself and Rob if you're a patron. And I think that's about what we've got. So thank you all so much for joining me here today on this solo journey through the final day before the blind side. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see all of you tonight.